Guess where we are? That's right, we're at Christie's, the most famous auction house in London, and we're here to see a unique sale of art and painting and jewellery. And it's a sale that brings together an incredibly impressive selection of works from the Indian subcontinent. Visions of India, which has a rich variety of watercolours, paintings and prints, all capturing the evocative memories of days of the Raj, where artists have illustrated the life and landscapes of India over 200 years of British rule.
Well, the Visions of India sale was set up about 4 years ago, and this is our 5th sale now. And we have a particularly fine collection this year, a very representative selection of works that were executed in India during the British period. There are certain artists you should be looking out for, the professional artists who went out to India to work. But the sale is also very representative of the amateur artists who were followers of the professionals, who went around and charted the landscape. William and Thomas Daniel, a nephew and uncle pairing, went out to India in 1786. They went out and lived in Calcutta at first and produced a wonderful book of prints of Calcutta. And with the money they raised from that very successful publication, they travelled around the whole of India. And so they really were the artists who brought the Indian landscape to the British for the first time. Well, what Christie's is doing at the moment is establishing its market for theme sales. And Visions of India is a very typical theme sale where we try to cross-market works from different departments to a single audience who are collecting in a particular field rather than collecting a particular medium. So the sale includes books, coloured prints, drawings and oils that would usually be sold in a number of different sales.
Now, the other sections of the sale here at Christie's include the 20th century Indian art section, which comprises rare and early works, as well as bold modern work from a whole variety of artists.
Some of the 20th century artists argued that in opposition to the Western approach, traditional Indian paintings were never meant to represent reality in the naturalistic objective sense. Running Woman is using expressionist language and emerged out of the artist's complete identification with the working class. The figure illustrates the kind of energy needed to survive an increasingly fragmented existence. One of the very attractive parts of the 20th century art section is the Bengali school of painting.
Really what the school is all about is restoring to Indian art its lost identity. In the early parts of the century, obviously, Indian artists were trained by Europeans in the academic style of painting and had lost their tradition of painting in miniatures. So one of the things that the Bengal school is known for is reverting back and looking at our ancient traditions like miniature paintings, and especially from the Mughal period and from the Pahari period. So it's drawing on that and drawing on Indian myths and well-known Mughal stories from history, from myth, and reinventing them in a modern format and for a modern audience.
This is the Kneeling Warrior, Kana, and it's one of the most expensive pictures in the 20th century Indian art section. It's got an estimated asking price of between £16,000 and £24,000, so I won't be getting my checkbook out just yet. But this is a fine example of the artist Ganesh Pine using enigmatic images that draw on the worlds of myth and folklore.
Obviously, Pine has developed a very, very unique technique for painting. He uses tempera, which is a very well-known Indian medium, and he's been able to develop it to paint larger scale pictures. Pine also paints about 4 to 6 pictures a year, so this makes them incredibly rare. He is again one of the artists from Bengal who has been able to develop a unique language, and so there is demand from Bengalis for works by Pine, and therefore they end up being worth what they are. Obviously, you might think it's expensive, but I think it's worth every penny.
If collectors really get their sense of knowledge developed, they may find that they're collecting an emerging artist and end up with a Van Gogh or a Picasso. Now, some of these lots are expected to get for phenomenal amounts of money, so let's go and see just who it is who are making all of the bids.
1,800 thousand for it, 1,900, 2,000, 200, 400, 3,200 I have here, 4,500, 6,000, 914.
Probably the most smashing part of the sale is the jewellery section.
Right, let's see what we can find in here. See if we can't get our hands on something. Oh, right, now I'm looking for something for my girlfriend, and I'm thinking of one of those bracelets. Do you have any of those bracelets? What's that for? The Mughals had a passion for dazzling jewels and ornamental objects, and we've got some really important Indian jewels here which capture the rich heritage of the Mughal leaders' love for all things beautiful.
Well, this is a collection of Mughal and Indian jewellery which we've taken 2 years to find and to put together. We've used very high criteria in choosing pieces for this collection. Everything that we have here that is set with a white stone is a diamond. In many Indian jewels, the white stones were zircon or white sapphire. Everything you see here, all 248 pieces, the white stones are all diamonds. Very importantly, with Indian jewellery, the reverses are enamelled. And the enamel work was done, in fact, to protect the gold from wearing away. And over the centuries, the enamel work became more and more elaborate. And the examples that we have here, the enamel work is in absolutely perfect condition, which one actually doesn't see that often.
Pendants were very important accessories to the Mughals. When a Mughal emperor was very pleased with a courtier or his heir, he would bestow upon them his pendant. And this was a tradition that was continued by the Maharajas, and they never felt overdressed. But the most important ornament in a Mughal emperor's wardrobe was the turban ornament, or sarpek, which amplified the importance of his power and glory.
It's a turban ornament, and just would have been attached to the front of the turban. This is a particularly fine example. I'd like to just point out here on either side these small birds, the little doves here, which are formed from a single carved emerald, and that's quite unusual to have those as decoration work. It's completely set with diamonds, probably about 50 carats of flat diamonds, and in the centre, around this large pear-shaped diamond, we have carved rubies in the form of leaves and carved emeralds. And then if you look at the design along the top, everywhere you see this peacock motif or bird motif, and the reason why they put extra little emerald birds there. On the bottom, a fringe of emeralds, and then on the back, the most exquisite enamel work.
The centerpiece of the jewel collection is a 17th century North Indian Mughal carved emerald necklace.
The carving on this particular emerald is absolutely exquisite. If I turn over and we look on the back is all beautifully carved as well. And if you also look at the edges of the emerald, you'll see that all around the side there's beautiful carving around the edge. So I think this is an extraordinary piece of jewellery and a very, very rare emerald. It would have been worn by a man, and it's interesting to note that most of the jewellery here originally would have been worn by Mughal emperors and not by any ladies. And the jewellery was very much a status symbol, a symbol of power. This we expect to fetch about £600,000 to £800,000, about $1 million US.
That's a hell of an amount of money, isn't it?
4,500, 4,800, 5,000, 500, 6,000, 500, 7,000, 500, 3,500, euro, 8,000, 500, 9,000, 500, 10,000.
I think a collector has to have the taste. That is most important. Money is not the point, definitely.
I like jewelry with history. Antique pieces have belonged to some famous Maharajas and princes, and I think the value of it remains in it. It's like good investment when it's antique and with good provenance.
These pieces have history behind them. They have families, generations of family ties behind these stones, these gems. That's what makes it interesting.
How much are you hoping to go back home to Italy with?
As much as possible, I think. I don't know. Let's see. It depends on the price.
In the auction, there are some set rules and terms. If you don't know what they mean, you might end up in a messy situation.
There's the brave hand. There's the earlobe scratch. There's the itchy nose. There's the knowing nod. And then there's the look of surprise when you realise that you've just purchased £100,000 worth of jewellery.